welcome back to Pour It On. This is our podcast about friendship and life's challenges and joys and making the most of our time here. I've got a topic for tonight that I'm excited about putting in front of you guys. But before we go there, let's do a quick check-in. Like, how are you guys doing? How's your your Labor Day weekend been?
Hey guys, my Labor Day weekend has been great. I'm really excited about the fall. Favorite time of year. Start of school for my high school for my son tomorrow. So I'm ready. I'm actually ready. Here we go. How about you, Sean?
Oh, do we assume that everybody knows our voices already, Chris? I'm just wondering, as the host.
We don't assume anything.
But... Okay. Oh, hey, everyone. This is Sean. How are you? That was Chris that opened, just FYI, and Ben that went second. Yeah, I mean, it's been a great Labor Day weekend, and my wife and I are off to Europe tomorrow. So, giddy up! Looking forward to this conversation.
I don't think I've met anybody. When I say this, I say, "Do you know Sean Emerson?" And they go, "Well, I know his voice."
Yeah,
right. Sultry, is that what they say? It's sultry.
And Chris started. So that just leaves me, and so there we go.
I just wanted to know if maybe people knew our voices already. That's all, Chris.
Yeah, they know me as the one who fumbles around with words. So there you go. Yeah. All right, listen. Let's cut to the chase here. I want to bring up a topic that for me has been rattling around in my head for a while. I think I first heard about this through our friend Bill Burke's podcast, Blue Sky, where he had Pete Davis on his show. And Pete was there to talk about his documentary film called Join or Die, which was based largely on his studies with Robert Putnam, who had written a book roughly almost 25 years ago, I think, called Bowling Alone. Yeah, Bowling Alone came out in 2000. So, and the central idea there was that America has seen a significant decline in social capital. And we can debate what that word means or what that phrase means. But this, to me, this notion of connectedness and social capital feels maybe even more relevant today than it did 25 years ago. And you could point to a couple of factors there, the continued growth of the internet, and certainly there was the pandemic there. But what really does stick with me is this image of people still bowling, but not with teams. They're bowling alone. They're not in leagues. And it instantly made me think about how we strive to connect, try to connect with one another and with our other communities or other places where we have social capital. So let's start there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you guys didn't have a chance to go read Putnam's book. I would probably make fun of you if you had, because it's somewhat academic. But maybe you had a chance to see Join or Die, the documentary. When you guys think about the state of community today, what's your gut reaction? Does this resonate with you guys in your personal lives, with the people that are in your circles? Sean, let's start with you.
Can I ask a quick question first?
Yeah.
Are you guys bowlers?
Good question. I'm not a good bowler, but I like to bowl.
I wouldn't say that I am a bowler. I go like once every 5 years and have a blast, but then it kind of goes out.
I actually I bowled in multiple bowling leagues throughout my life.
What?
So in New England, there's candlestick bowling, which I refer to as the little balls. And then when I come out here to Chicago, it's the big balls.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems fitting somehow.
And my wife is an outstanding bowler, by the way. Just ask her the next time you see her. Hey, Lisa, are you a bowler? I'm so good.
That's exactly what I'm going to ask Lisa.
She's not very shy or humble about her bowling. Anyways, bowling leagues are awesome. So just as a way of community, and I think. Anyways, I watched Join or Die. I was emotional watching it. First of all, I knew about Bowling Alone. I have not read Bowling Alone. I've read multiple stories about it. First time I saw Putnam, in love with Robert Putnam, by the way. Yep. After watching that, I think I was so emotional because I just find that connection, social connection, whether in one-on-one, small groups or large groups, is is why we're alive. I mean, it gives life, it gives joy. And so the idea of his research that suggests that, I mean, it really started back in Italy, that, the successful governments or successful communities or states or regions or what have you was because of the nature of organizations and clubs and community. It makes total sense to me. And, I've been on this rant many a time. I think the disconnection has been exacerbated by technology. And I'm a technology advocate, but the certain types of technology, particularly social media, I think is disruptive rather than connecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you make good points, and these are things I've thought about as well, and I think Pete talks about in different podcasts. Ben, thoughts on your sort of personal experience of this idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see when something that we're all feeling is quantifiable, which is what Putnam did and everything that's flowed from his work. And so I was not surprised by it at all. But I think that, I felt it for years. It is absolutely at the heart of how this podcast got formed. And while we talk about it like a way to bring other people into a community and a different kind of conversation, it started much more personal than that. It was me and you two, and talking about what we could do. And you guys were asking, well, what's the thing that you're seeking to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just know I enjoyed talking with you. And you guys said, well, then let's do the podcast and see where it goes. So as soon as you started talking about the topic, that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, yeah, I'm seeking it out, but it has to be real. It has to be authentic, has to be worth it. And on a lighter note, I find that I bring comedy bits into these discussions, not my own comedy bits. That's a future episode I'm really looking forward to. I mean, actual comics. Sebastian Maniscalco, I think I'm getting his name right, but I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a hilarious guy. He's got tons of Netflix specials. But anyway, Chris, I was thinking about this bit he does. He's like, remember 20 years ago when the doorbell rang? He's like, when the doorbell rang, it was a big event. You're like, oh, hey, who's at the door? And then you open the door and they're like, I was just coming by. Oh my God, how are you gotten so big? You brought your kids. Come on in. We're just having some popcorn, watching a movie. Come on, He says, now when the doorbell rings, he goes, everybody down. Like, no eye contact. We do not want to be bothered. I don't want any surprise visits. And I saw that, and like most good comedy, it's rooted in reality. And it's like, okay, yeah, things have changed so dramatically. I do remember when the doorbell rang as a kid. I'm like, oh, who's here? It's a neighborly thing to do. Now it's like, what do you want? You've got to be trying to sell me something or needing something. And if you all across our connections, it's totally changed about what normal is.
Yeah, no, that is a perfect little anecdote. I mean, and I experienced that too, and I can't completely explain it. Yeah, more often than not, that person is trying to sell you something, or too often, I should say, not more often than not. Putnam's research is a lot about social capital and the impact of all this on democracy. I'm interested in that angle, but I'm more interested in the very individual, personal angle of just the connection and what it does for individuals. I do think that ripples out towards communities and towards democracies. But Putnam wrote this book in 2000, and so much shit has changed, right? Internet, social media, to Sean's point. I kvetch all the time about remote work, which is largely a result of the COVID pandemic, which I think is really taking a toll on this sort of connectedness issue. So I thought Pete Davis, by doing this film on the research, really hit some of those points well. Ben, your technology in your world, your busy schedule, I think you mostly work in person, but what's the impact on your personal well-being from your ability to connect with others, and maybe rattle off like some of what you've joined, if you've joined anything other than this?
Yeah. So, it helps me, the technology and the remote part of how we live now, it helps me in my work because there's just so many different ways to reach people, and so I'm very used to that. I feel connected to my clients, and I feel connected to my team at work because I'm in the office most days. I really do like the personal connection. You just feel it. It's not even a question. It's not a question of efficiency. It's just a different connection. And we have people in the office 3 days a week, and they're in, and it makes a big difference. Outside of work, I have joined fewer and fewer things over the years, partly because of the demands of my time, and I do like quiet time and peace, but also it gets harder. I think it was part of the whole point of Putnam's work. It gets harder to connect if, sort of the traditions were church or synagogue and the Rotary Club and some of these sports leagues. And you kind of, if you're not religious and, your family dynamic's not traditional and you age out of some of those things, then there's no point in joining if it's not fun and connected. That's why people bowl alone. They still want to do it, but they don't feel connected. And so I used to be very much at the center of things, or one of the people at center of things in my social groups. And I still kind of to do that. Like, just to give you an example, a bunch of us are going to a big Penn State game later in September. And, I'm realizing I'm going because over the years, this connection to the football is decreased, especially because it's hard for Penn State to win a big game. But mostly it's like, I want to go back and see my friends. I want to go back and see my friends and putting it together. And so I figured out among my Brooklyn friends who can go, and I got the tickets and I priced them out. And then, I had other friends from my Penn State life who were not connected to where I grew up. And I connected us all in one text chain for this game at the end of September for the first time. And I'm like, I called it the Whiteout Crew. It's the Whiteout game. And I find myself doing that. And I remember a friend of mine a couple of years ago said, what's going on? What's going on with the game? What's the tailgate plans? I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? She's like, well, it's up to you. She's like, you're the one. I'm like, there's 11 of us. Why am I the one? They're like, because you clearly, it's not such a matter of skill. It's like somebody has to have the passion to gather people. And so, Chris, I do it selectively. When I do it, I really do it. I really am passionate about it. But other things, other groups, I'm like, that feels like work. And so I'm trying to pick my spots. Of course, sometimes you try those things and they lead to cool stuff. And sometimes you try them and you're like, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I across town at 7:00 at night on a Wednesday to join? Because I'm, and that's what makes it hard for me, is that it's not, even at this stage of life, it's not clear. You got to find this balance, because if you withdraw too much, you're clearly missing something, I think.
Yeah, Sean, I saw you nodding your head there. What were you thinking?
I was thinking, Ben's comment. I think, I think you have to try some stuff. I mean, I'm thinking, I'm thinking we have this one life, and do we want to engage with other human beings, or do we want to watch TV or scroll on Instagram? I mean, or TikTok. And just thinking constantly about how do we break away from this technology that so captures us. I mean, I was thinking today watching Join or Die about the nature of organizations that they were highlighting, organizations that people can join and be a part of, and the events that they do and promoting them. How many people look at stuff like that and decide, oh, I'm going to go be a part of that, or say, I just experienced it. I watched it on Instagram, and that's my experience of it, and now I'm fulfilled because I don't have to go across town, across Manhattan to go to an event. That was the experience. And I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but I think that there's a lot of people that might do that. It's just my gut is that a lot of people are looking at it, rather than it being a promotion for, I got to be a part of that. It's like, I just experienced it.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And I think that that's, I think that that's unfortunate. And so what can we do to continue to, and I sometimes I feel I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I look at this technology, for example, and I always feel like I'm engaged with you guys. This is a different thing. I mean, we are talking, we are having fun. We're giving Ben shit about Penn State, and maybe this is the year. The whiteout, are they playing Arkansas State? Who do they have there for the big whiteout? I'm just
here we
believe
go.
me.
Hey, it's
And
easy,
sorry, Chris,
easy.
last night,
It's
tough one.
Arkansas State Tech.
Right, Pine
No,
Bluff, Arkansas,
they're-
Pine Bluff.
They're playing Oregon. You know, the
Right.
natural Big Ten connection from
Yeah, of course.
Pennsylvania to
Right.
Oregon.
Makes total sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So we could do that, and that to me, this is an enabler for real connection, and it feeds, because we don't get to see each other very often, and it fulfills that gap until there's an opportunity to be together. And so being involved in an organization that utilizes this technology to create spaces for connection amongst men is powerful. And every day I see the fear from men to engage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different threads that we could pull on here. One of them, Ben, you alluded to, which I think we've talked about in different contexts before, which is like, well, you can't just go join every group unless you want to let your kids and your relationship with your partner or all that stuff sacrifice. There's only so much you can do, right? There's only so many hours in a day. There's that part of it. And then, of course, and I've never been a part of a bowling league, but there's also this thing that Sean, you alluded to, which is like, if I'm attracted to joining things about which I feel strongly, right? There's got to be some purpose there, right? I think Pete's documentary film opens with some guys at the Oddfellows, which I kept meaning to look up. I don't even know what the Oddfellows do. Does anyone know?
No, but it'd be a good one for you, I think. Just
He's trying to lead a thoughtful conversation, and he's catching strays.
Seriously.
I'm a little Randy. What can I say?
You are.
What?
Yeah.
I love you.
Okay,
I love
but
you
so
guys. Who wouldn't want? I'll join the Oddfellows with you. I'm in.
Well, it was very compelling.
And maybe one of our listeners can tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, I could have just looked it up, but my point is, like this thing. If Ben, if you had come to us and said, "Hey, let's three of us do a podcast and we'll just talk about baseball," I would have probably been a hard pass, But because I feel like there's some intentionality here and there's a vision for, what this will do for each of us and maybe for a few dozen listeners or whatever, whoever does catch on, that purpose was what was compelling to me here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I was thinking about in both your answers, since sports came up there, this photograph at the Masters this year, and Rory McIlroy won the tournament, and he had been trying to win that tournament his whole life. And but anyway, in this photograph, it's him sinking the winning putt, and it was the reaction of the people in the crowd. And the Masters disallows phones. I don't know if you have to hand them in. I think you do. Maybe you have to put them away. But so nobody was taking a photo or video of this. Everybody was engaged. And the difference between that and every other big thing, like when LeBron got the point record, and every single person had their phone out. Nobody was actually sharing it with their people they were with. It was all they all needed to take 42,000 individual videos of the same thing. And I think that the more that we can break that habit, this is family time. This is time with my partner. My phone is down. It is off. It is us. That is a way to start. And then you can send that to like, okay, I'm going to go join a meeting and a group and just try it and put the phone down for a half hour. And actually, Sean, I think this might be a good time to just give a little bit of a context about Men Living, because we've talked about it across our episodes, but there are going to be some people listening who don't know what it is. And I had actually not joined a call until recently. So maybe that would be helpful if you could just give a little bit of flavor of that.
Yeah, I mean, very simply, it's a nonprofit we started 7 years ago that built on top of something that Todd Adams had started in his living room that brings men together for conversation, very simply. And the idea is that the conversation might be something different than you would have particularly with a stranger you meet on the street, because often these are guys that come in that are, it's an open door, whether it be in person or virtual. And the idea is that, you get comfortable sharing personally about your life, and that a host of a meeting will bring in a topic that's designed to create that kind of conversation. And I think, that there's the nature of the conversation, which is meant to be more emotional. It's the idea that if you come into the room, you might meet some guys there, again, whether virtual or in person, that you might want to connect with more deeply. Hey, I've connected with hundreds of guys over the last 7 years, whether it be individually or in smaller groups or in these meetings. But you see somebody say, hey, Ben Filler, that guy's an interesting guy. I want to learn more about him, and send him a note and see how you connect. And so we do over 500 between virtual or in-person meetings a year. And guys show up from all around the world at different levels of good. Honestly, there are men that show up that are in a good spot, and there are guys, honestly, that show up that are suicidal. And that can make for a difficult conversation, but we're here for them. And it's just regular guys. We're not therapists. We're not, we're just regular guys holding those spaces. And it's meant to be community. In a small way, it's about creating community kind of on the fly, if you will.
But yeah, we know, we have some data, and we know from a lot more anecdotal evidence than that many men come to try out Men Living in search of the kind of community that we're talking about, in search of maybe some new friendships, maybe just some deeper conversation that they're not getting from their current friends or family or whatever. I am a sucker, you guys. My daughters and my wife will tell you that if we're eating dinner in a restaurant and I see someone eating alone, I almost can't, I'm almost debilitated. Like, I feel so sorry for anyone who, well, first of all, I'm assuming, probably incorrectly in many cases, that person is eating alone because there's no one that they can go eat with. Now, you can make fun of me, Sean. I hear you snickering.
No, I'm not going to. No. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm going to comment after you're done.
Okay. But anyway, I think loneliness is like one of the saddest things. It's just, I hate the idea of anyone feeling, whether or not their loved ones think that they should feel alone or not. If you have the self-perception that you are alone, that breaks my heart. Okay, Sean.
I just want to distinguish, for me, the loneliness versus being alone. I value alone time. I'd go out for dinner by myself and have alone time. It regenerates me. I feel subdued. So I think that, and I think, in my opinion, I think it's a valuable thing for everyone, and it's different than being lonely to me.
Totally agree.
And so I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And
well, so no, but just to be clear, like, my daughters will be the first ones to tell me, like, hey, he may have chosen.
Right.
He may have said no to 7 dinner invitations in order to eat alone. And I get that. But I was just trying to illustrate my, how I feel about the possibility that anyone feels alone. Like, I want everyone to have someplace to go. So anyway.
Well, that's a great sign of genuinely great sign of your heart. And that comes through in everything that you do. Look, I think there are layers to this. One is the awareness of it that Putnam brought, and everything about the documentary. It's like, okay, if the more we have social disconnection, the worse it is for our country. Loneliness was talked about in that as like a threat to national security, all these manifestations. And so you got to have the awareness that this thing has gone down a very steep decline, and it's not a good thing for the country. And then it's like, okay, well, if that starts to feel authentic to you, like, I don't really have a place to go. I don't join things as much. I don't get invited to things. What the hell happened? I miss the energy. Then the second level is like, okay, what can I do about it? And I think that's where there is hope, because there's a lot that people can do about it. There's all kinds of groups. Men Living, I'm glad you went into that, Sean. It's just an example of it, because I felt it when I went. It's like, hey, the guys I was on the call with, they kind of knew each other. And there was a sort of a running conversation, but they were talking about some really deep and serious stuff. But they brought me in, and I felt comfortable within 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, here we go. And they got a lot out of listening to me, I think. And so there are so many examples of this that if people are hearing this and they're like, okay, I'd like to do something about it. If the choice is join or die, like I'd rather join. Yeah, absolutely. And if the threshold is, it better be fun, it better be worth it, it better be authentic, you better not be judged. Like, yeah, those are really fair thresholds, but they're doable. They're completely doable. So
I just want to shout out, because I went through and I looked today. I was just doing some research at monthly active users on the major social media platforms. 3.1 billion for Facebook, 2.5 billion for YouTube, 2 billion for WhatsApp, 2 billion for Instagram, 1.6 for TikTok. Reddit's about 500 million, 900 million for Snapchat. X is 600 million, 1.3 billion for WeChat. Telegram is over $1 billion. LinkedIn's $1 billion. Pinterest is about 600 million. I don't know if I left any off. And so I think about, what we're talking about, and feels like joining organizations, clubs, gatherings is up against that. I feel that. I feel like it's up against that. And that's fucking massive. And those numbers don't even get in I'm going to call the insidiousness of the connection to it. And then we could go through stats on how many hours a day people are on that. I feel to a certain extent like what we do with Men Living or any other effort to bring people together for real connection is up against that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you guys have a reaction to that?
Well, it's tricky because the Penn State example I brought up is because there's going to be one day there, knock on wood, where I'm going to be standing with friends at a tailgate and talking to them about their lives, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. That's just a different thing. So there's that. On the other hand, those are some staggering numbers that you just dropped. So the one I use for fun is Instagram. I have a lot of fun on LinkedIn too, but to connect with people, but it's a different thing, of course. Mm-hmm. So with Instagram, it's Sean, it's funny because when I covered the White House, where social media was just kind of starting back then, Twitter was just starting, there were the White House photographers, the still photographers who covered the White House. They had their own culture, right? They had their own thing, and they just pretty much looked down on reporters. We were just hacks. We weren't creative. And they had a section in the West Wing called Still Country, still photographers. And it's like, and they tolerated me, and then one year they were doing a calendar for somebody at the White House, and it was like kind of making fun of themselves. And they were doing like, like the firefighters do these sexy calendars. They were doing that of themselves, kind of mocking themselves. And they didn't have a December. They had 11 guys. They needed one more. And they're like, Feller, do you want to be Mr. December? And I'm like, you're inviting me? They're like, don't make a big deal about it. Like, you're the you're the one that we could tolerate the most. And I always felt like an honorary member of the still photographers. It was awesome. Those guys are great. And so the reason I'm telling you this story is that they still do a fantasy football league, and I'm still in it. And the reason I'm still in it is because of those guys. And one of them started an Instagram chat that goes every day, 12 months a year. And we send each other silly things that we see on Instagram. And it's like, and we comment on it. And it's a little version of what we're talking about, right? It's like connectedness because of this medium. Mm-hmm. So as much as the doom scrolling and the tech can keep you away from it, there's also these moments where you can find it. And that's where, I'm always trying to find that balance, because I would much rather sit with those guys, have a beer, mm-hmm. and talk shit, but I don't get to see them.
It's not, it's not black or white, and I don't ever want to be. It's black because you guys are being very intentional about using technology, right? Yeah. I mean, you're looking at it and saying, okay, we're being very intentional about utilizing this technology to keep us connected and fun and whatever in between when we can see each other when we have an event. So that intentionality, I think, is what's really important there. And my question would just be how much of what happens on those platforms is intentional about about a connection. And it might, arguably it might be much more than I think it is. I would just have everybody look at it and say, are you being intentional?
Yeah.
What are you missing out on if you're not?
Mm-hmm.
One more quick twist here, and I know we're almost at time, but Pete Davis sort of frames joining as courage to commit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we had time to explore whatever advice we might give people to connect, to commit, whatever. But if we believe that's true, if we believe like it takes courage to go join a bowling league or go to your first Men Living meeting or whatever, Sean, do you think that it's that social media and the sort of insulation from actual human connection that makes it accessible without that courage?
What do you mean makes it accessible without that? You mean you can watch it on social media and not have to engage in real life, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, that was my comment earlier. I wonder about that. I think there's probably a little bit of that. But I think it's always been tough to put yourself out there, right? Yeah. That's always a tough thing.
Yeah.
Is it tougher than it used to be with that? I mean, I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's the only way to engage, right? I mean, at some level, if you really want that connection, you have to put yourself out there. And it's even guys, like we say, I just want to make the comment about, Chris, Kevin Rogers, Todd Adams, and I played golf twice this summer. And in person, in the past, we maybe did it once and then we talked about it. We didn't do it. And we were very intentional about doing it. And I think that's the thing about friendship is if you want friendship, if you want to do something, you have to go do it. And it's not about anybody else. It's about you doing it. And we talk about that in Men Living a lot too. If you want connection, if you want friends, you just can't hope for it. You got to go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben, any parting thoughts before we put a bow on this thing?
No, I agree that it takes courage. I agree with that premise. The courage to first with yourself to say, I need something. I need some connection that I can't get from tech and from shows and from reading. I need something. And then to go find it and then to put yourself out there. And if you do that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. But all those things I do believe they take some courage. The payoff is totally worth it. That's how I got to know you guys. You'll remember I infamously reached back out to you after we had like a profanity-induced conversation on the first podcast about sports. That's how I reached out to you guys again. I'm like, well, you got our attention. And so the reason I did that is because I missed you. And you're like, yeah, let's catch up. Right. And then this whole thing started. And so, yeah, I do. Also, Chris, like it takes courage sometimes to decommit. I was part of a really fascinating and such a thoughtful thought leadership group in the pandemic, all remote, of course. And I got invited to join, and then they liked what I was adding. So they invited me into the inner circle. And then that begat, Monday planning calls. Thursday, we did the thing. And a lot of high-level communicators from across the country were part of this. And then afterwards, we would stay on and debrief and get ready for the next one. And the cycle just began, like at some point in the pandemic, I felt so squeezed. It was taxing me. And eventually I said, I have to stop this because I was feeling more pressure at that point than joy. It had flipped. And I felt like it took me courage to say, like, this isn't working for me anymore. So even when you join something, it could be great. You have to just keep monitoring yourself. And everybody there respected my decision. And I might go back at some point, but it was just right for me. So the point is to what Sean was saying, you got to be intentional. What do I need? What am I doing about it? And that's why I'm so grateful for you guys, because as soon as you heard that from me, you're like, let's do something.
Can I just put an exclamation point on Ben's comment? I think it makes a lot of sense. I know I have stayed in things and longer than I wanted to, and I stayed connected to it, and I'm not sure that was doing anything good for me or anybody else. And so, yeah, I just want to second that, Ben, that because we're always changing too, right? So what we needed 2 years ago isn't what we need today. And so can we be okay with communicating that to people that, no, you know what, it's time for me to move on to something else.
And Chris, you've done a great job leading this. I'm just like, what are your final thoughts on all of this?
Well, I mean, I want to just say one last thing on this is I totally agree with you guys. Like, take a look at yourself and think really hard about what you need, and then have the courage or whatever to go join. And I would say that in many cases, folks don't know, I hate that term, folks, but I just used it, may not know what they need until they go and get some peer support or join a group or see what's available or see what's on the other side, or you name it. But all the more reason to take a chance here and there. And again, this idea of committing, I don't think you should ever be like, okay, I'm going to join the Oddfellows and I'm going to be a member of the Oddfellows until the day I die, right? Like, that's not what anyone is suggesting here, right? But at least, go out and interact and work on different relationships. All right, I'm going to wrap this up there because I know we went way over. Go ahead, Sean.
We talk about people joining things. The other thing you want to talk about really scary is you could start something yourself too. I mean, if there's something that you really are passionate about, don't sit on it. Giddy up, get it, start it yourself and recruit people, because I don't know, passion is contagious, and you only have one way around. And so why not do it all?
Sean, you came to this call on this Labor Day, all shot out of a cannon. Like, you're I love your energy level today. It's always good.
Thank you.
It's always good, but I love how energetic you are about this. And thanks to both of you for thinking through this question, this notion. There's a lot to think on. To our listeners, we'd love to hear from you all. What do you think about joining or dying or, becoming members of teams and the courage to do that? If you have thoughts, please leave us a comment on our LinkedIn pages or wherever you're getting your podcasts. And please join us next time. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. And don't bottle it in. Join us and pour it on, or join your friends and pour it on. Anything else, boys?
Be like Sean and pour it on. Yes.
I'm wondering, did I know you guys? I'm just curious. Now I'm feeling self-conscious. Like, was I too over the top today?
Not at all.
This guy. You see, you must not compliment him often, Chris, because he didn't really know how to take. He didn't know how to take that at all. Yeah. By the way, I feel like you know us pretty well now. These reactions are not annoyance. I'm annoyed by you all the time, but not now. This is good.
This is an exception.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I feel really good now. All right.
I love it. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Be well.
Adios.
See ya.